Want to know the secret to hands down the crispiest and best tasting steak fries I've ever made in the oven? This beef tallow. It's got flavor, heat tolerance, and it makes these fries taste like they just came out of an old school steakhouse fryer. For the full ingredient list, check the description box below, but enough talking, let's get cooking. So to get this recipe started, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my water boiling on the stove. We are gonna parboil these potatoes, so we gotta get the water boiling. Takes a little while for water to boil, so start that off soon. Now let's take a look at our potatoes. So for potatoes, we're not gonna go with a yellow potato, we're going russet. Russet is a high starch potato. It gets really crispy and nice and creamy on the inside, and it's got that best of both worlds thing going for it. And also when I'm choosing potatoes for fries, I want them to all be about similar size and cook at about similar rates. So I'm trying to search for potatoes that are unblemished on the outside, you know, no rotten spots, no cuts, and they're about the same size. So when we cut them, they come out to fries that are about similar size. One of the worst parts about potatoes, especially when using the skin, is they're grown in the dirt, and dirt is gross, so we gotta clean these. If you don't like skin and you peel your potatoes, maybe you can skip this step. So I'm gonna soak these potatoes in some water. And to the water, we're gonna add a little bit of baking soda. We're gonna use baking soda a couple times in this recipe. I like to do this just to loosen up the dirt on the outside of the potatoes before we take them over to the sink and scrub them. So I'll just let them sit for like 5 or 10 minutes inside the water, and that'll just help the dirt get nice and loose, so when we do scrub it, it's all coming off. So once the potatoes have had time to soak, you can see we've already removed a lot of the dirt already, but I'm gonna give this a rinse and a scrub. So here I got a clean sponge, because we want to get a lot of the dirt off, and we want to make sure that we're using something that's abrasive. You can use a brush, but I just like using the sponge. And I'm looking for any like extra dark spots. This potato actually looks pretty good. So now to cut a potato, I'm gonna put it on the cutting board to see where it sits nice and flat. That's gonna be the safest place to cut it from. And now from here, I'm just gonna push right through the potato. We're gonna cut it in half. Then we're gonna lay both sides flat, and now we're gonna pull through. Once the potato's already in half, potatoes pull through really well. And now I'll take each one of these, I'll put my knife on a 45-degree angle and cut all the way through to get these 2 equal portions. Now that our potatoes are cut, let's head over to the stove and give them a little boil before we send them in the oven with that beef tallow. So I got this high rim saute pan because I feel like this is enough to do 2 potatoes. If I had to do more, maybe I would pick a bigger pot, but I can get the water boiling pretty easily in here, and I can scoop out the fries after they're boiled without damaging them too much. But before we boil, we're gonna add 2 things. One, we're gonna add a couple pinches of some salt. This is gonna help salt the water so that the potatoes are already starting to season as they're boiling. The second thing we're gonna add is a teaspoon of baking soda to help alkalize the water, which is gonna help break down a lot of the starch inside the potatoes. And that's gonna help give the exterior of these potatoes a really nice crispy crust. And always when putting things inside boiling water that can splash, always push in and then push away, because if I just drop these in here, they're gonna splash all over me, and I don't want boiling water to be splashing on me. So always in and away, in and away, in and away, in and away, in and away. And now if there's any splash, the splash will happen away from me and not towards me. So I'm gonna let these boil for about 5 minutes, and after about 5 minutes, the exterior should be nice and soft, but not so much that we've cooked the middle of them. So after about 5 minutes of boiling, we're gonna remove them, and I'm gonna use the spider. I like doing it this way rather than putting this in the sink and then dumping everything out. I'm gonna try to not walk around my kitchen with a big pot of boiling water as little as possible. So this really minimizes any big giant disasters that could happen, because you definitely don't wanna drop all this boiling water. So I'm gonna use my spider to scoop these out. And again, these are not fully cooked. We're just cooking the outsides, so the outsides get nice and crispy. The insides are gonna cook when they're in the oven. So I'll take these out and I'll put these inside my colander. And now I can shut the heat off, let this cool down before we have to dump this in the sink. Because again, this is dangerous moving around a big pot of boiling water. So I'm gonna let these fries cool off before we season them. So while they're cooling off, let's take a look at the tallow. Here I got a nice big jar of tallow from Love Tallow. This is a really nice cooking fat. This one in particular is a garlic and thyme flavored. Sometimes they're available in these infused flavors. So this is gonna be perfect on top of the potatoes because we don't need to add any garlic or any fresh herbs. We're gonna get the flavor right from the tallow. So if we take a look at what the tallow looks like, you can see that the tallow is solid at room temperature. This is actually one of the beneficial things, that because this is solid at room temperature, it's a very shelf stable. So you can store this in the fridge, or you could just keep it in a cool, dry place. In the fridge or like in the freezer, this stuff can last for over a year when it's frozen, and you can just take it out when needed. Sometimes I've seen people freeze them into like little ice cubes and then they'll melt it down as needed. But you can see that it's solid at room temperature. So in order for us to use this and dress those potatoes, we gotta melt it. So my favorite way is to just take it, throw it inside of a mug, and send it in the microwave for a few 30-second blasts. So we'll take a couple of tablespoons of this. Usually I use about like a tablespoon and a half of fat per potato. And that's about the same fat that I would use when I would be cooking with olive oil. So I use about the same volume, and you know, I think that these are interchangeable as far as volume. So if you don't have a microwave or don't want to use the microwave, you always just take this and just heat this up in a pan. As soon as the heat hits it, melts really quick, turns nice and liquid. So this might look like a lot of tallow too, because I'll keep this around for a while. I'll use it periodically, so I like to buy it in bulk. If you check out the description below, there's a coupon code for a 10% off from Love Tallow. So now I'll take my fries that have cooled a little bit, and they're nice and dry on the outside. So as they're cooling, they're also drying, and having a nice dry exterior is gonna really help these get nice and crispy. So let's take these, we'll throw them inside of our mixing bowl. And now I'll take some of that tallow. It smells so good. The garlic and thyme flavor is unreal. I'll drink this. And now we'll take this and we'll pour this on top of our fries. And now I'm just gonna season really simply. So we're gonna go with old reliable salt and pepper. And I don't wanna put too much salt because I'm gonna put more salt on to finish, and some fresh ground black pepper. In addition to the salt and pepper, we're also gonna put on some smoked paprika, or a nice red color. It's gonna give us that beautiful color, and just another layer of like smoky flavor. And so now I'll just get in there with my hands and I'll mix everything all together. And if some of the tallow hardens up on the outside of the bowl, that's okay. As we move the fries around, just the heat, even just from these like slightly warm fries, will start to melt that tallow again. But it's a little bit different than working with like a cooking fat like olive oil or canola oil that always stays, at least if it's not out of the fridge, it stays liquid. So if it cools up on you, all you got to do is just warm it up. If I rough up the outside of the fries, that's actually not a bad thing, because that's going to make it like really nice and crispy on the outside. But I'm trying to do it in a way where I'm not just going to like damage any of the fries. So I got these half trays heated up in the oven. So right now my oven's heated up to 425 degrees. I got the convection setting on. If you don't have the convection setting on, probably bump to like 450. And one of the great parts about cooking with beef tallow is it can handle the high heat. So if 425, 450, it's not going to smoke. So now I'm going to take these preheated pans and I'm going to put our fries on each one, and I'll try to get 8 on each, and that's going to give me a nice area to put the beef tallow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 1 along the side. 3. So we got 1 broken fry. So now I'll take the beef tallow that's inside here and I'll just drop it solidly inside the tray, because as soon as that tray hits the oven, this will start to liquefy and it'll become liquid again, and then it's doing like a shallow fry. And the reason I'm doing the 2 sheet pans is the 2 sheet pans, there's less area for the tallow to spread around, so it's more likely to fry and not go all the way to the edges. And I've been doing it this way rather than the full sheet, and I find I get way better outcome with these little half sheets. So here I'm trying to make sure that I'm not wasting any of this tallow. This stuff is pure gold. So now I'm gonna put these in the oven for about 20 minutes before we do our first flip. So let's take a look at these. They already look nice and crispy, but they're not done yet. We still gotta flip them and finish them. So my tool of choice to flip is this little icing spatula. I think it just gets underneath really easily. And even just flipping that one, these are so crispy already and they're still not even done. Look at that beautiful color on this already, and they're still just not even done. Ow, that's really burning my fingers. So I'm just gonna give each one of these a flip. They already are super crispy. They smell absolutely fantastic. The garlic and thyme infused tallow is genius. Like, tallow is perfect for making potatoes. I think, you know, duck fat and beef tallow are probably the two best things that you can cook potatoes in. Potatoes pair so nicely with garlic and fresh herbs. So having it infused already in the tallow is just gonna make these really, really, really nice. So before I send these back in, I'm gonna take just a little bit more of that tallow and just throw it inside the pan, because the pan's looking just a little dry, and it really doesn't matter where it goes because it's gonna melt, and I can give the sheet pans a little shake, but as long as that's getting in there, it'll melt and be liquid really quick. Even here, as they're sitting here, they're already starting to melt a lot. The heat of the potatoes are already doing a decent amount of melting. But let's get these back in the oven for another 15 to 20 minutes until they're nice golden crispy on the outside. Now look at these fries, golden perfection. So if we take a look at one of these, and look how amazingly crispy that fry looks on the outside. If you told me this came out of a deep fryer, I'd believe you, because this thing is golden, blistery, bubbly, crispy. In order for these to get really crispy, we're gonna let them cool. And to let them cool without steaming, I'm gonna put them on a baking sheet. I just got a piece of paper towel in here to catch any crumbs or anything that drips off, because I just don't want to clean that pan. And now I'm gonna take these fries and just let them sit on top of this baking tray for a few minutes before we salt them, just so they can cool down, so they're not gonna burn my mouth. And as they cool, just like the chicken wings, they'll just get a little crispier. If I just leave them in the sheet pan, they'll steam from the bottom, and then we're gonna lose that crispiness. And we worked really hard to get that crispiness, so let's make sure we keep it. Even this little like crispy crumb right here, it's a little chef snack. So remember, even though it's liquid now, this fat's gonna get solid. So what I like to do is just take a piece of paper towel, wipe your sheets clean so it's not going down the drain. This stuff is brutal to clog your drains. You wanna treat it just like bacon grease. You would never put bacon grease down the drain and just clog up your pipes. So wipe out as much of it with a paper towel as possible, and then just wash normally. Now let's talk salt. You can put any type of salt. Kosher salt would be fine, but I'm gonna use a Maldon finishing salt. So if you look at what this looks like, look how large and irregular this salt looks like. This is really nice, crunchy, flaky salt. And because it's crunchy and flaky, it'll stick to the outside and it'll give it other textural elements to the potatoes. So let's take this salt and let's sprinkle this on top for this amazing fry. Should need this amazing salt. And I like to take it and just kind of just like give it like a little light crumble. So before I try one of these, I'm gonna rub my knife over just so you can hear how crispy the outside of this is. I'll be quiet so my microphone can pick it up. Oh man, this looks so good. So if we take a look at, before we even bite it, if we look at the inside, see how the inside is nice and creamy. The outside is super crispy. I can't wait to try this. Outside of the crispy factor, which is really, really nice, the flavor here is unreal. This is so good. You know, the texture on the outside of these fries is absolutely perfect. If you would have told me these came out of a deep fryer, I would totally believe you if I didn't make them myself. But this is so good, so delicious. The garlic and thyme flavor coming through on that tallow is unbelievable. And the russet potato is really the best potato that you can make fries with. It's got the best of both worlds. It's got the creamy and it's got the crispy. And And I think the ultimate application for using beef tallow is cooking potatoes. It's not a universal cooking fat. You can't use it for like a salad dressing. There's other applications where the flavor is way too strong, but for potatoes, there's nothing better. So if you're interested in picking up the same tallow that I used in this video, check out the description below. I'll throw a link to Love Tallow, and I'll throw in a coupon code for 10% off. So you can save a few bucks and have these delicious fries. If this is your first time on my channel, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to my channel. Let me know in the comment section what you thought of this video or any other recipes or topics you want me to cover. The perfect thing to pair with these fries is a nice smash burger on the Blackstone. So check out my how to make an Oklahoma onion burger on your Blackstone griddle, and I will see you there. Thanks.